Hi, I'm Alex, and welcome to episode 4 in A Woodbury Minute. Today, I'd like to share some interesting facts about how our community began with 3 one-room schoolhouses and over time grew into the large school district we all know as Monroe-Woodbury. And it all begins here in 1834 on a barn that once stood on the property of Morgan Elmer. This location would continue to serve students until approximately 1862. We'll come back to Central Valley in a little bit, but first, let's head north to Woodbury Falls. I'm standing on Trout Brook Road, and behind me is the one-room schoolhouse that once served the village of Woodbury Falls. It was built around 1880. Today, it has been added onto and now serves as a private residence. The community of Woodbury Falls would close the school in 1927 when it merged with the Highland Mills School District. Follow me and let's run south to Ridge Road to find what once served the students in the hamlet of Highland Mills. Now this gets a little tricky. According to Emma McWhorter's book, Town of Woodbury History, the building behind me was one of the first one-room schoolhouses in Highland Mills. It was moved from its original location on Route 32, on a site that is presently occupied by the Highland Mills Professional Building, where some of our town offices are located today. This is all that remains of that original schoolhouse built in the early 1880s. It was moved here to the corner of Ridge Road and Ferndale Avenue, and it was replaced with another schoolhouse that was built in the same spot where this building once stood on Route 32. That second schoolhouse was later demolished. Let's go to see what this one-room schoolhouse was replaced with. And here is what replaced that second wooden schoolhouse. From what I understand, in 1907, Central Valley voted to create one school district, but Highland Mills voted no. Instead, what they voted yes to was for $18,000 to be raised to build their own school. In 1912, the Highland Mills School opened for 105 students. The hamlets of Central Valley and Highland Mills did vote to consolidate in 1951, and more than 20 years later, this building would close in 1973. Central Valley's history is a little less clear and somewhat confusing, but let's see what I can share with you. There is some evidence to suggest that a one-room schoolhouse existed in the space behind Pembleton's drugstore, which is today's Gildersleeve Insurance Company, and the Old Bank, which today houses the Grand Mango Caribbean restaurant. Some folks may better remember the building behind me as the old post office, and later Kaiser's Bakery. According to Emma McWhorter's book, this building was originally known as Moore's Bakery, and I love hearing Walt Stanfield talk about the jelly donuts that were made here. Just before passing underneath the road overpass on Smith Clove Road, I will be making a right onto Valley Avenue to view Central Valley's two-room schoolhouse. In fact, during its operation, the street was more appropriately named Academy Avenue. Its bell tower has been removed, and even more recently, its porch was also removed. But the building has changed little aside from that, since it was first opened for students. At one point, an addition was even built for a third room on the schoolhouse, but I suspect that was also removed at some point in time. Now, this building behind me, directly across the street from the old Kaiser Bakery, is known better today as the Education Center for Monroe-Woodbury District Schools. According to McWhorter's book, back when this building was built in 1924, it only served Central Valley. As a matter of fact, in 1928, its first high school graduating class had only 2 students. And remember when the hamlets of Highland Mills and Central Valley finally voted to consolidate in 1951? Well, this was one of the school buildings that accommodated students from Highland Mills, Woodbury Falls, and Twin Lakes. Twin Lakes was a small community on top of Route 6, which was also known as Baileytown, and is now part of the Harriman Park system. These communities joined together, and guess where their new high school would be constructed? This was the original high school when the hamlets of Central Valley, Highland Mills, Woodbury Falls, and Twin Lakes voted to consolidate. In 1952, the land for this school was donated by the Harriman family, and that is why the auditorium for this building is named the Mary Harriman Auditorium. By 1959, this new high school was too small to accommodate its students, and a third wing was added that same year. They certainly worked fast back then, but let's get back to the area where the Ed Center is located. In 1968, there was a beautiful home known as the Thicken House, which was demolished to make way for the Smith Clove Elementary School. That home served as the principal's house for the 1924 structure on the corner. Now, since this is a video podcast about Woodbury, I will stop our brief and informative journey here. And public schools are certainly not the only part of this interesting story. There were and are a number of private schools, like the Stonyvale School, the Academy of Jesus and Mary, which would later become Tevenay Hall, and David Cornell's boarding school, which later would recruit Tomas Estrada Palma to teach at the Institute Hall. Palma himself would later open the Estrada Palma Institute on his property called Locust Lawn. However, all of these would really need more time, and I plan on doing a more extensive podcast on our local schools in the near future. In 2018, I graduated from Woodbury and had a number of dedicated teachers who inspired me to both find and explore my passions. I would like to dedicate this episode of A Woodbury Minute to those individuals. So until then, I hope you enjoyed listening to episode 4 of A Woodbury Minute, where we travel through time to explore how we all got to here today. I'm Alex, and thank you for listening.